Do you delay memorizing music, even though your piano teacher way back when always told you to memorize early? Even though page turns are the absolute worst? Yeah, me too. So I'm on a quest to prove to myself and you that memorizing early is the liberating choice, and that we're usually a lot better at it than we think we are. The piece I'm working on is an arrangement of You've Got a Friend in Me, which you do. I'm the little bald, bespectacled piano friend on your phone. It's the theme song from Disney's Toy Story franchise, which I haven't watched myself, but I'm told it's clever. Anyway, the arranger is an amazing self-taught guy who I support on Patreon, and if you're interested, I've put a link to the channel plus a link where you can buy this piece on Music Notes in the description below. To get you caught up on where I am, last weekend I spent, about 90 minutes reading through the piece slowly, and I put in a few fingerings. This weekend I'm starting with the metronome at quarter note equals 60, and my goal is to memorize the first 2 pages today. I feel like I can start memorizing once I'm familiar enough with the music to recognize wrong notes by ear. I know that's pretty subjective sounding, but after 90 minutes last weekend and a couple of slow run-throughs with the music today, I think I have a pretty good sense in my ear of what sounds right and what sounds wrong. This is what people who study memory call the encoding and storage stages of memorization. This happens effectively when you decide to start paying attention to something because you want to remember it later. The important thing is that it's deliberate. Most of us recognize the difference in attitude, in focus, in effort between reading music without intent to memorize and reading music with intent to memorize. They are two fundamentally different activities, and I think that making the decision to pay attention early flips your brain into a higher gear earlier and makes the whole process of learning faster and more efficient. Here's the last run through of pages 1 through the top of page 3 before I decide to move on to the scarier stage. So because I'm keeping track, that was the 4th read through today. I did get distracted for about 2.5 minutes doing slow practice on a tricky passage on page 3. Which means so far the total amount of time spent in this practice session today, reading through pages 1 through the top of page 3, is about 12 minutes. So now I'm going to test myself. These stages are what's called recall and retrieval. Mental representations that we've encoded and stored consist of images, sounds, and feelings. For me, I rarely recall images of printed music when I'm playing from memory, which is super interesting. Let me see if I can describe. Mostly, I feel like I'm fetching an expected sequence of sounds and recalling the physical sensations that should make those sounds, things like hand position and the feeling of keys under the fingers. And then, of course, the sounds resulting from those physical sensations affirm whether they were correct or not. For the first few attempts, I usually keep the page out and try to exercise self-control to not peak. As you can see, the first time isn't so great. But the improvement happens pretty fast. In the second repetition, I only peaked once and made one mistake. The third repetition is even better. One mistake, 0 peaks. After this repetition, I took a little break, and when I came back, much to my surprise and gratification, I ran page 1 again with no peaking or mistakes. Okay. Page 1. Page 1. Can I put it away? It's always a little scary to retest after really any amount of time passes, whether it be minutes, hours, or days. But this time, since I managed to stick the landing, I decided to put the page away. This has always been a psychologically important milestone, for me at least, because it's the equivalent of really and truly removing the training wheels. So in summary, thus far to memorize one page of music, I spent about 12 minutes on encoding and storage, plus around 9 minutes on recall and retrieval. 21 minutes. Now, having never tracked this before, I think that's pretty interesting and surprising. If that's all it takes to memorize a page of music, I'm well on my way to eliminating time costs as an excuse to procrastinate. Page 2 wasn't as clean or as efficient, even though it should have been. 2 bars are verbatim from page 1. But I've noticed, even before recording a whole practice session like I did for this video, that the quality of my practice tends to deteriorate over time. I get sloppier, and I start doing bad things like what I call ironing in the wrinkles. That's another topic for another video. Can I put it away? Can I put it away? I'm gonna put it away. So it took 19 minutes before I decided to put page 2 away versus 12 for page 1. But on the upside, the first attempt to glue both pages together wasn't terrible. I made it all the way to the bottom of page 2, which by now has definitely become an ironed-in wrinkle. But that I got that far on the first try was another pleasant surprise. After a few more repetitions and ironed-in wrinkles, the final tally for memorizing these 2 pages was, drumroll please, 31 minutes on encoding and storage, 18 minutes on recall and retrieval. 49 minutes! That's a lot less than I expected. And at the very least, investing 49 minutes to liberate myself from these 2 pages of music will save me the hassle and uncertainty of a friggin' page turn. In case you didn't notice, I really hate page turns. Also, it frees up the eyes to aim for any big jumps. There's a fair amount of stride piano in this piece, and trust me, I'm gonna need my eyes on the keyboard as I increase tempo. And it removes latency. That extra hop from page to brain is longer than we think. Direct brain to hands is much faster, it helps with fluidity, it helps with expressiveness. You have zero chance of going into a performance trance, which is the closest any of us will get to glimpsing eternity while alive, if your eyes are glued to the page. There is one downside to memorizing. Maybe not a downside, but a risk, I suppose. Perhaps my most amateur mistake on this channel, was that one time I memorized a piece incorrectly. I omitted an entire measure of a Beethoven sonata and had no idea I'd missed it until someone made a comment. So watch out for that. Never hurts to occasionally refer back to the music to check. For those of you who have some experience with memorization, I'm curious to know if around 24 minutes per page sounds average, slow, fast. For piano music, or organ, guitar, harp, I don't want to hear any sass or gloating from you single note at a time instrumentalists. And by all means, share how you memorize. If you have any tips, leave them in the comments. And if this video made you feel anything at all, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and smash the little bell thingy so that you get notified when I publish new videos. See you next time. Ciao.